From personal growth to business solutions, there is no limit to what you can imagine. It's time to reimagine banking. Centenary Bank, our bank.
You're watching Luntha TV and it's time for our 7:30 news bulletin. My name is Tandi Wenzumara. Let's have a look at our top stories. Pope Francis appeals for workers to be protected properly in the workplace. Roads Authority clears misinformation on demolition of Lilongwe Bridge. Disaster Risk Management Act of 2023 to be operational in October. Outreach as Zimbabwe President Emmerson Mnangagwa names son as minister. We do have the details to these stories and more. Just stay with us. Pope Francis has underscored the need for workplaces to be safe for workers and for those workers to be cared for and protected. Making the remarks on Monday morning as he received members of the Italian Association for Injured Workers, ANMIL, in the Vatican, while applauding the association for its efforts to promote safety in the workplace and support victims of work accidents and their families, the Holy Father highlighted the employer's great responsibility, decrying when corners are cut for profit or when one tries to clear one's conscience or image with charity work. We have more details in this Vatican News report read by Bridget Wanoga.
Addressing the ANMIL members on the 20th anniversary of the association, Pope Francis thanked the Workers' Association for drawing attention to the issue of safety in the workplace, where too many deaths and misfortunes still occur. In particular, he praised their initiatives aimed at improving civil legislation on workplace accidents and the rehabilitation of people with disabilities. The Holy Father also encouraged them to continue raising public awareness of accidents, prevention and safety policies, particularly in favor of women and young people, as he lamented ongoing tragedies in workplaces despite technology available to promote safety. Pope Francis then emphasized that ensuring safety at work is an employer's first duty and expressed disgust when entrepreneurs or legislators, instead of investing in safety, prefer to wash their consciences with some charity work. He went on to underscore that human beings come before economic interest, as each person is a gift to the community, and when someone becomes impaired or disabled, it wounds the entire social fabric.
The Episcopal Conference of Malawi, ECM, has commended the Scottish Government through SCIAF, which has supported the conference with a total of £200,000 British pounds. The funds, according to ECM, are being used in a response project being implemented in some of the Cyclone Freddy affected areas with an aim of contributing to the provision of immediate humanitarian support. Jacqueline Saidi has more of the details.
With the funding they got from SCIAF, ECM has reached out to help in 3 districts with the objective of reaching out to at least 8,000 households, which is approximately 36,000 people in vulnerable communities. Speaking in an interview, Acting Director of Social Directorate at ECM, Brother Pascal Mtuana, expressed gratitude to Scottish Government, which through SCIAF has helped the Church to achieve the Catholic social teaching of preferential option for the poor through the project. He noted that, among other things, the project was aimed at improving food security through provision of food items to households affected by the Cyclone Freddy and improving shelter and protection of women, girls and other vulnerable persons.
Episcopal Conference of Malawi is very grateful to the Scottish Government for this support, because we need a lot of support, a lot of financial resources, but also material resources. So we do appreciate this donation quite a lot, and we will, on our part, we'll do our best to reach out to the victims of the cyclone so that in a way we can alleviate the suffering that is there.
With the project implemented in the 3 dioceses of Zomba, Chikwawa and Archdiocese of Luntha, all located in the southern part of Malawi, diocesan directors of the dioceses said they feel the love and closeness of Scottish Government through the funding. Father Matthews Simba, who is the Director of Social Development in the Diocese of Chikwawa, noted that the help will go a long way in making sure that the people affected are receiving the proper and accounted for support.
We'll make sure that we put into place policies as well as measures to make sure that these items reach the people. Fortunately, we have a team of people from our office that are at least well conversant with this type of interventions. So we will utilize them to make sure that at least we are trickling every pound or every dollar down to the people that need the help.
Meanwhile, CARICOM representative, who is also the Archdiocesan Secretary for Blantyre Archdiocese, Mandinda Zungu, said that the support given by SCIAF is timely, as some of the people in the affected areas have lost everything.
So the coming in of SCIAF's support to us as Blantyre Diocese, as well as the other dioceses of Zomba and Chikwawa, is very timely, because we are now going to be able to support government by assisting these people who are now being accessed where most non-food items, food items as well as wash kits, as well as dignity kits have run out for them.
ECM, through the project, has since distributed various food and non-food items to the affected households, whose food items were washed away in the fields before harvest, making it so difficult for them to have access to proper food. Some of the distributed items include maize flour, cooking oil, soya pieces, and porridge flour for children, just to mention a few. For Luntha Television News, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
The country's roads authority has disclosed that demolition of Lilongwe Bridge will take 6 weeks. Spokesperson for the authority, Portia Kajanga, has however emphasized that the demolition of the bridge will come after the completion of alternative bridges being constructed alongside the bridges. She was clearing misinformation that the bridge demolition will cause commotion, saying the activity will be done in a systematic and quiet manner, that there will be no disturbance to people doing businesses in the capital city. Robert Edward has more of the details.
Now, I'm standing at a detour bridge, which is about 80 meters long, and it's going to be at least wider, up to at least 8 meters. This bridge is going to be finished at least around October. That's when the contractor of this bridge is now going to start touching the demolition of the famous old Lilongwe Bridge. There is going to be a new bridge. The bridge is going to be at least 78 meters long and 34 meters wide. It's going to have at least 5 lanes, and then these lanes are going to be for the motorists, while the cyclists and the pedestrians are also going to have their own lane. Now, this is coming because there have been a lot of misinformation out there on how the bridge is going to be demolished here in Lilongwe. According to Roads Authority, the demolition of the bridge is going to happen systematically. They're not going to disturb any business activity. This detour bridge, it's an alternative bridge. Now, when this is done, it means all the people, all the motorists are going to be using this bridge coming from the Woodian side, going to where there is the Lilongwe Town Hall. And that side is, on the other side, on the far right, of the bridge is going to have the another bridge for the pedestrians who are going to be using that bridge. And the demolition of that bridge is going to only take place after the completion of these detour bridges that have been constructed by the contractor here. Now, according to the Roads Authority spokesperson Portia Kajanga, Malawians are going to be updated on how this is going to take place, but they should know that whatever is going to be happening here is not going to negatively affect or impact any business activity, because they will do it in such a manner that it should not affect any business.
Once we have completed constructing the new bridges, traffic will be diverted onto the new bridges, and will let traffic run for maybe about 2 weeks. We want to see how traffic will be running. If there will be any problem, we want to rectify it before we now go to demolish the bridge. And like I said, the demolition of the bridge is going to be done very slowly, without any noise, just hammering on the concrete slowly for a whole period of 6 weeks. And then when the bridge is all down, that's when we'll start erecting a new structure, which will be our new Lilongwe Bridge, bigger, wider, and very beautiful. The bridges that we are constructing now should be completed by the end of October, and we believe will be done by the end of October.
Now, the construction of this new Lilongwe bridge, and of course the road that is going to start from immediately after the Bridge View Hotel, is going to be finished at least around 2026. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
The Civil Society Agricultural Network, CISANET, a leading civil society network working on food and agriculture issues in Malawi, says the depreciation of the Malawi kwacha against the US dollar will negatively affect the country's food production due to its over-reliance on imported fertilizers. A recent statement by the network, which was signed by its board chairperson Herbert Jagona, suggests that the government should expedite the process of purchasing farm inputs to ensure farmers, both smallholder and commercial, do get access to the SEM on time. Bridget Manoka has more of the details.
With the Reserve Bank of Malawi announcing 0.27% depreciation of the kwacha as of Thursday, 31st August 2023, CISANET feels the development will further weaken the country's already frail food systems. The organization further notes if an urgent action will not be taken, the development will condemn the country to probably the worst food crisis in decades. According to Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, and Acute Food Insecurity Analysis, about 4.4 million people are facing high acute food insecurity in the country. The figure this year is almost 1/5 or 22% of the country's total population. The vulnerable populations have increased by a whopping 1.4 people when compared to that as quoted in the 2023 IPC report. The same report also projects that the country's food situation will worsen between October 2023 to March 2024. A week prior to the release of the analysis, another report, Global Information on Early Warning Systems, by the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, indicated that Malawi is among countries that will experience extreme heat weather conditions from November 2024 to March 2024. With the onset of the growing season, the weakened kwacha and the current forex shortage continue to threaten the country's other key 3 FCs of the country's economic growth, that's food, fuel and fertilizer. The 3, coupled with the country's reported dwindling import cover in forex reserves, go hand in hand, signaling the beginning of yet another cycle of hunger. Bridget Mwanoka, Luntha News in Lilongwe.
You're still watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center, and today with me, Tandy Ramsumara. Before we proceed, let's have a recap of our top stories. Pope Francis appeals for workers to be protected properly in the workplace. Roads Authority clears misinformation on demolition of Lilongwe Bridge. Disaster Risk Management Act of 2023 to be operational in October. Outreach as Zimbabwe President Emmerson Mnangagwa names son as minister. The Department of Disaster Management Affairs, DODMA, has disclosed that the Disaster Risk Management Act of 2023 will be gazetted for activation in October, saying they are currently finalizing implementation structures and instruments. This is in response to a letter that the Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiative, CIDED, wrote to the department on September 11, 2023, seeking an update on the implementation of Cyclone Freddy recovery plan. In a letter signed to DODMA Commissioner Charles Kalemba, DODMA has commended CIDED for their efforts. In a letter signed by DODMA Commissioner Charles Kalemba, DODMA has commended CIDED for the efforts in seeking clarity pertaining Tropical Cyclone Freddy response and recovery interventions, saying this will help towards building resilience of communities to disasters. Charity Chilanga has more of the details.
DODMA says since March this year, when the cyclone hit, the department has been providing relief assistance to affected populations through councils. According to Kalemba, there are currently 20 active camps hosting about 45,000 people out of the 749 camps that were said to accommodate over 650,000 people that were displaced by Tropical Cyclone Freddy in 16 affected councils. Kalemba says the remaining camps are largely hosting communities who are living in disaster-prone areas and have been earmarked for relocation, adding that the department is coordinating relocation exercise and they are aiming at having all camps decommissioned by end September. Among other things, DODMA says the Disaster Risk Management Act of 2023 that CIDED referenced to raise its concern on Tropical Cyclone Freddy response and recovery plan is not operational. But CIDED Executive Director Sylvester Namiwa says CIDED is surprised that despite the energy and the zeal demonstrated by Parliament, so much that the country should have a Disaster Risk Management Act that was assented to by President Lazarus Chakwera, the same is not in operation.
That was just one thing, that we haven't learned anything from the national response to the devastating Cyclone Freddy. As a country, we need to learn to treat issues of emergency as such. Secondly, we are not impressed with the response. That is, thus far, we intend to write the Red Cross to ensure that we should go and visit the said houses.
CIDED raised a number of issues to DODMA that are in reference to Disaster Risk Management Plan of 2023, which President Lazarus Chakwera implemented on June 7th and gazetted on July 21st, 2023. Charity Chilanga, Luntha Television, Lilongwe.
Action Aid Malawi has disclosed that it will launch a climate justice campaign dubbed Fund Our Future, with a rallying call on Malawi to shift from industrial agriculture to agroecology. The organization's executive director, Pamela Kowali, says the campaign is to be launched in Lilongwe on Wednesday. It will mobilize the youth, young women, and climate change activists, social movements, and collectives in the country to call for disinvestment in fossil fuel and industrial agriculture. Bernard Wanza compiled this report.
A statement released earlier today states that the launch will be marked by the official launch of the Action Aid's new research titled How the Finance Flows, the Banks Fueling the Climate Crisis. The report, among others, notes that since the Paris Agreement in 2016, banks have provided 20 times more financing to fossil fuels and industrial agriculture activities in the global south than global north governments have provided as climate finance to countries on the front lines of the climate crisis. Pamela Kowali, Action Aid Malawi Executive Director, says Malawi, which is on the front line of climate crisis, must make a decisive action on Affordable Input Program, AIP, stating that apart from being associated with many challenges, such as delays, corruption, and a burden to the taxpayer, the program is destroying the soil and forcing smallholder farmers to be perpetually dependent on it for them to produce food. She says government must consider defunding AIP and start investing in agroecology, which guarantees cultivation on a sustainable basis without destroying the soil. One of the smallholder farmers from a disaster-prone district of Nsanje, Doreen Fachi, says the Fund Our Future campaign offers hope for increased financing towards climate resilience in the district. The Fund Our Future campaign, launched in Malawi, comes months after the country was hit by the longest-lasting cyclone on record, Cyclone Freddy, which claimed over 1,000 lives, displaced over 563,000, and destroyed over 220,000 farmers' fields and crops and infrastructure across the southern Malawi. This is Bernard Mwanza for Luntha News in Lilongwe.
Now in other news, Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa has been accused of nepotism after appointing his son as one of a new set of ministers following his controversial re-election last month. Mnangagwa on Monday named his son David Kudakwashe as Deputy Finance Minister as part of the Parliament's youth quota. He also appointed his nephew Tongai Mnangagwa as the Deputy Tourism Minister. We have more details in this BBC News Africa report read by Charity Chilanga.
Outspoken main opposition Citizens Coalition for Change (CCC) lawmaker Fazai Mahari has stormed the new ministerial line-up as indefensible, accusing Mnangagwa of stoking nepotism. Some social media users have been expressing disappointment with the appointment. There has been no official reaction from the ruling party or the presidency over the accusation. However, supporters of Mnangagwa say his son is qualified for the position. Mnangagwa's re-election has been disputed by the opposition, citing claims of fraud, while some observers say the poll failed to meet regional and international standards.
That BBC News Africa report read by Charity Chilanga also brings us to the end of what we had for you in this edition of our news bulletin. But before we leave, here's a reminder of our top stories. Pope Francis appeals for workers to be protected properly in the workplace. Roads Authority clears misinformation on demolition of Lilongwe Bridge. Disaster Risk Management Act of 2023 to be operational in October. Outreach as Zimbabwe President Emmerson Mnangagwa names son as minister. My name is Tandi Wemzumara. Thank you so much for keeping me company, and goodbye for now.